Now, Sam Stein is the senior editor at the Huffington Post, and he was recently on MSNBC's Morning Joe talking about who to blame for the Democrats essentially losing so badly, and how that blame does actually fall a bit on President Barack Obama. Now, let's go to the clip. Let's let him explain.
Sam Stein from President Obama. It's not really about my legacy. It's not about my policies. It was about the candidate who lost the election, Hillary Clinton.
Yeah, I mean, this was as much a dig against Clinton as it was Trump from President Obama. And, you know, to a certain extent, you have to say, okay, the Democrats are maybe overanalyzing their loss a tiny bit, because they did end up with 2.9 or 2.8 million more votes for their candidate. It was 80,000 votes in 3 states that really cost her. But then on the other hand, you look at the destruction of the Democratic Party under Barack Obama's leadership, and you have to wonder, you know, what was the political, what were the electoral benefits that he gave to the party? He leaves them in a much worse position. The states are decimated. They've lost control of the House and the Senate. The governorships are decimated. So yeah, maybe he is obviously a gifted candidate. He did win election twice by substantial margins. But you know, his legacy as a politician is a bit muddied by all that.
So let's get back to that rhetorical question that he asked in a little bit. But look, overall, I think Sam Stein has some pretty devastating points. First off, he began that he's right that Obama, yes, absolutely, gifted candidate. He's good at campaigning. Now, before, and I've said this for a long time, about how I wished President Obama was more, President Obama was more like candidate Obama from 2008. My point being, he was really good at campaigning, not as good at governing. Yes, he fired a lot of people up while he was on the campaign trail. But again, while he was governing, not nearly as strong, not nearly what we wanted. And look, even with all that, he still got a great approval rating, and people generally like him. And still, you can't deny that under his presidency, the Democratic Party has been absolutely decimated. For example, he came into office with a filibuster-proof Congress. Okay. Now, yes, it was for several months, but he could have gotten some things done. He could have gotten some legislation passed. And he could have used a bully pulpit, for example, to push through single payer, to round those Democrats that are more your centrist types into saying, okay, fine, we'll go along with single payer, we'll see what happens, or at least we'll give you a public option and see how that works out. He didn't do that. He said, you know what we're going to do? We're going to enact the Republican healthcare plan. We're going to enact Obamacare, and everybody's going to love it. Well, not everybody loves it. Are there good parts to it? Yes. Are there bad parts to it? Absolutely. And that's a fair summation of what's in the law, of the effect of the law. Good parts and bad parts. Okay. But again, that is the Republican healthcare plan, and it doesn't cover everybody. And he could have pushed through at least a public option. But instead, he wanted to drop it for the Republicans. So he didn't fight. He also didn't go after the bankers that crashed the economy, that pissed off Americans from both sides of the aisle, both Republicans and Democrats, that were devastated by the housing crisis. Did he go after the bankers? No, we only look forwards. We don't look backwards. Okay, well, that didn't work out, right? Again, he didn't fight. And of course, in 2010, the Republicans ended up sweeping Congress and the state houses and the governorships, and essentially in the states, gerrymandered the hell out of them so that they would, of course, go on to win the House. So, and then, of course, during that whole time, I have to realize, I have to, of course, acknowledge the epic Republican obstruction. It was bad. And yes, of course, the Republicans are to blame for a lot of this as well. But if I were Obama, I would have used the bully pulpit. I would have said, hey, I would like to do these things for you. I would like to get these great policies. I would like to do another round of stimulus because I believe that it would help. I don't believe the stimulus that we had was enough. I would love to do all that stuff to help. But the Republicans, they're blocking me. Remember that when you go to the polls in 2014. Remember that. I'm trying to help you. They don't want to help you at all. It's called being strong. It's called having a backbone. It's called being aggressive. But again, that's what he did not do. Instead, it was, let's reach out to Republicans. Let's reach out to the people who want to completely destroy my presidency because they don't like me because A, I'm a Democrat, and B, I'm a black man. Yes, there is a little bit of racism involved, no doubt. But again, Obama reached out to Republicans, even offered Social Security on the table. I will give you a cut to Social Security. I will give you a changed CPI, which is a cut in benefits. Now, what did the Republicans do? Well, they happened to be so goddamn greedy that they didn't even want to take the deal. No, it's not enough. You got to cut it more. You got to cut it more. At some point, Obama's like, well, I can't cut it anymore. They won't let me cut it anymore. Okay, I'd love to do it, but I can't. And the Republicans didn't take the deal. Now, all of those different factors, they did hurt the Democratic Party. And, of course, another thing that hurt it was the continuation of the status quo. Neoliberal policies like TPP. President Obama, one of his legacy achievements, he said, was to bring about the Trans-Pacific Partnership. That might be the one bright spot in a Trump presidency, is that we don't get that disastrous trade deal. But again, I don't want to have too much hope. I'll believe it when I see it. Again, all of which, yes, did contribute to the losses of the Democratic Party that Sam Stein points to. Now, of course, in this last election, you had Hillary Clinton being one of the main reasons that the Democrats lost so badly. She was simply a terrible candidate, and I pointed it out in so many different videos. But back to the question here. What were the electoral benefits that Barack Obama gave to the party? Well, the answer is, in my view at least, none. That giant coalition that was supposed to propel Hillary Clinton to victory, it didn't materialize. It was only a coalition that Barack Obama built. He didn't give it to Hillary Clinton. Hillary Clinton didn't earn it. She has to earn those votes, and she didn't. She completely failed at earning and building a coalition. So, yes, a lot of what happened here in 2016 can be laid at the feet of the DNC and Hillary Clinton. And Barack Obama, of course, has his hand in leading the Democrats so poorly in the states and in the Senate and in the House that we ended up losing all branches of government to the Republicans. Way to go. Now, that is, of course, kind of sad because under Obama, it's hard not to argue, or it's hard to argue that we didn't do massively better as a country under President Obama than we did with George W. Bush. We did. Now, don't get me wrong. There's still a lot of people that are hurting, of course. And there's still a lot of economic anxiety. There's still the middle class that is still not quite recovered from the financial crash. But at the same time, it's pretty likely that it's not going to get better under Donald Trump. So what's my lesson from all this? I want the Democratic Party to look at its successes and the failures of the Obama administration. Look at what they did wrong. Too much reaching out to Republicans, too much neoliberal policies, too much focus on free trade and on tax cuts. Remember, Barack Obama did something that George Bush wasn't able to do. He took the temporary tax cuts passed by the Bush administration and made them permanent. These tax cuts are forever. That's going to be an issue. That's going to be a big problem. And I want them to take the failures and look at the successes. For example, the successes of Bernie Sanders, catching up a 60-point lead in the primaries, getting all of these people excited and energized for an election. I want the DNC to look at this, to look at the successes and failures and learn from it so they can actually do better, so they can actually win and actually implement progressive policies that help the American people Hey everybody, thanks for watching this video. If you want to see more like this, please hit the subscribe button below. And if you want to support truly independent, non-corporate media, go to our Patreon page and become a patron. Patreon.com/TYTNation.